Welcome back to Behind the Coil. Today's video brings us another 60-in-1 change-out, conversion, downgrade. Depends on how you look at it. This particular machine, Miss Pac-Man, has some god-awful racket whenever you've got it plugged up and on. So the customer wants to go to a 60-in-1, have some more games. I've already vacuumed it out just so I can kind of see around and offer the option of if it can be fixed and repaired, would you rather have it fixed and repaired? So I've already got with them. They want the 60-in-1. Any of the CRT purists, well, that's just how it goes sometimes. Let's get into it. I'm going to gut it out and we'll go from there. That's one gutted Miss Pac-Man completely. We may be replacing that speaker. I haven't decided yet. Clean slate. What we're going to work on now, we're going to get these rails cleaned up. This is what the CRT chassis sat on. We're going to actually use this to mount our new monitor. 19-inch, 4:3 aspect ratio. Here's how we're going to do that. Piece of wood will set in there like so. I have a 3D printed VESA mount from an older project. These outside holes are the exact correct dimensions. So the inside holes is how I'm going to measure it out, make sure it's center. I'm going to drill it down, just hold it down with a couple of screws. And then we'll use this as our drill guide to make this entire piece of wood a VESA mount that we will then be able to do some a little bit longer screws than this, of course, but we'll be able to go straight into this. This will hard mount to that piece of wood, and that way we'll have the entire rail system to make sure that we get properly centered in this space. And then our height, we're gonna see where we fall. We can actually do that now. I like my wifey chair. She hangs out with me sometimes and reads books. So the quickest way to measure this is we know the glass is going to sit on this piece of wood. So if we just lay the monitor on the wood, it's going to have a gap, right? So it's going to have that much of a gap. Now, that may be okay. What I tend to do is get everything mounted up, get it centered, get something on the screen, lay the glass in there, and see how it's going to look. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to gap that where it sits really, really, really close to that piece of glass. Now, so far, I've used this same type of monitor on quite a few. So far, I haven't had any issues with these buttons being activated by the glass. I've been able to keep it just underneath the glass and then using the black surround to kind of go around that. So that's kind of the idea there. Of course, it's going to set a little up. It'll set a little up, but you'll get that 19-inch 4:3 aspect ratio. That way we keep that original look the best we can. I've got the monitor, we'll call it a brown print. It's not a blueprint, so to speak. I've laid the monitor down off the factory cut of this board. So this will be towards the back. So it needs to be a bigger gap. So we've gapped it 1 inch on the end here. So 1 inch from inside the cabinet was where the bezel will start. So about a 1/2 inch of the screen will be covered by the art of the glass, which is perfectly fine the way this 60-in-1 system works. I'm going to have a gap at the bottom and the top. Plus, I'll have that horizontal movement that I can do. And to do this one, I've probably done, a handful of these at least at this point. And I've yet to do the same mounting system twice. Usually it's a different monitor every time. This is the same monitors I used on the last one, but this one had the stand, whereas the last one did not. All I had was the monitor. So the stand has this attachment on it that literally the monitor clips down into. So this clips into the monitor like this. I mapped it out. I measured everything to where this sits with inside the monitor frame. And if we line that up, we can see how close we are. Let's see, 6 3/4, not quite 6 3/4. Let's grab the monitor. Well, to be honest with you, it's falling correct. it's not quite exactly center either. Now I'm also working with pencil lines and not scribe lines. We're gonna do the best we can not to have scope creep. Help if I didn't move it. Oh no, that's correct. Yeah. Either way, doesn't matter that much. We can move. We're gonna have enough horizontal and vertical movement to do whatever we want to. Either way, we'll get the measurement. We're gonna put this in, get the measurement between the face of this and the edge of the boards where the glass is gonna sit. So now we can get that a lot more precise on that measurement to gap the monitor off of this board. And this will give us a lot easier time because I don't have to worry about VESA mounting. All I have to do now is just use a spacer, tack these things down, and it's gonna be solid. Figured out, and I may even drill holes and use bolts instead of just screwing it in. Why not? Let's see. So this is off the stand. We've lined everything out the way we want it. I 3D printed. On Maker World, they have a customized option on some of the parts. I just made a 1/2 inch thick washer, 86 millimeters in diameter with, I think it was 63 millimeter internal diameter. I still have the file. If we need to know exact dimensions. Yeah, works. Now, I don't have to, it's not going nowhere. So now, our gap that was really, really high is really, really small. That's gonna be a great gap. I really don't want this just banging against the glass because this will, depending on the environment it goes in, if it's getting moved a lot, it'll rub all that art off the glass. So I'm gonna have to actually put black cardboard or foam board, something to create a bezel because the art in the glass doesn't cover enough space. So now we'll get this thing centered up. We'll get this, we'll use these to hard mount this wood, and then this won't go anywhere. I've also started mocking up where we're gonna put power. I believe I'll put the board here. The original JAMA harness was here, so I might as well put the board here. Just everything's kind of pre-wired that way. I'm gonna reuse the door switch, safety switch, reuse the power switch, all that loom, and reuse the speaker wires. No sense in taking all that out. I do have to come up with a different way to light the marquee. This light is not functioning, but I've got plenty of LED strings. We will get this marquee lit one way or the other. We'll continue on and check back up in a bit. Well, I thought I had the camera rolling. Turns out I didn't. What I've done here, I'm working on taking this control panel apart because one, we've got to modify this and put some extra buttons in it. Two, all this stuff needs a good cleaning. See how grit and grimy that is? I went ahead and decided that the joystick mechanism, it needs a good cleaning too. So, we're working on getting this apart. We're going to keep all of our parts somewhat organized. This goes to the case. These are all the same, so it doesn't too much matter. Oh. I decided to take this out instead of putting it in the ultrasonic simply because it is bushing, like a rubber bushing. So I'll clean this by hand. Yeah, you can't really tell. Let's see. I'll clean this by hand. We're gonna put this in the ultrasonic. Let's see. I haven't decided yet if we're going to do away with this wiring or just tap into it. I found it's just as easy to do away with it as it is to tap into it. It just kind of depends. I don't know. I haven't decided. Of course, if I put all this in the water in the ultrasonic cleaner, it's not going to hurt anything anyway. I was just going to kind of clean that up, but I may just hand clean this and we'll leave it and decide. But we're going to toss these in there. That's pretty. It's not terribly warm, but I think this is Delrin maybe. Pretty good plastic. We'll put the Actually, we'll take the buttons apart and put them in there. They'll clean a little better. Because I don't really need to clean the spring. It doesn't really matter for that. But yeah, look at that. Oof. Good night. Come on. You try to be gentle and not break nothing. And no, I don't have the correct tool to get those E-clips off. I just use flathead. Come on. That one's a bit rusty. So I'll get the ultrasonic heated, start heating it up. I'm not too worried about those. We can clean those up. We'll get these off in there. Let's see, do we think this is gonna, that should be all right to throw off in there too. Sometimes you can change these out. Ultrasonic's not gonna hurt that. So, cool deal. Anyways, so when I picked it up, speaking to the customer about what they wanted to do they want to get a new control panel, you know, plug and play, gives you trackball, all the buttons you need. So is there any other options? Yeah, we can add 3 buttons over here. You can play all the games with the joystick. It's not going to be, I think there's a couple games on there that's really not meant to be played with a joystick, but it could be done. It's no big deal. We can put 3 buttons over here. And that's what they want to do. So Unibit comes out, figure out how to hold this thing for the drill press. That'll be fun. And then we'll lay out 3 buttons. I would like to, you know, one up and one back, but they want them all 3 in a line. So it's fine. That's what the customer wants. We'll also clean this up a bit. We'll probably take all of these out like we did on the cocktail table, and these are basically already silvered already. We will replace these for show screws, and then where these are holding these down, we'll just make them silver. That way all the hardware will be silver and everything will look uniform and somewhat better. Yeah, see, that's already silver there too. I'm gonna turn this on, get this going. We'll hand clean this bushing. I'm still waiting for the rest of the parts in the mail, but I think I need to figure out the blocking mechanism for the monitor. I don't really have any black foam board, so I may be making a trip to the store. I found, I know I just told you I don't have any black cardboard or foam board, but we're just going to test something. The cocktail table, when I cut the art out for that, I found the inner piece. So this would be a great template to use if I wish I could find that exact monitor, like 50 of them. If we use that, this will be an inside template that I could cut. So what I'm going to do is, this is an old yoga mat I get from Five Below. I just cut them down to size and use those as dust protectors for pinball machines. So we're going to cut it out of this because this is scrap. There's not really nothing I can do with it. I just tend to hang on to things. We're going to cut this out and we're going to give this a test to see how well this inner piece would be for a template. So let's do that real quick. I got a new blade in my X-Acto, and you know, we're not trying to be ultra precise here because this is just a test. So I'm not cutting too deep. Just steady. Maybe a little over in that area there. Not ambidextrous. There's another aspect to this sit-stand desk. I can bring this up to level where I'm not bending over at all. I have full control over every part. Oh, look at me, I cut that all the way out. I should have went on the bottom, not this. Well, we were gonna test it anyway, just to see if it would work. This proves the point of I'm not going to be able to use this for anything other than this test. Not having the bottom will still give us the, you know, yes, it'll work, no, it won't work, so that I buy foam board or whatever. Stick that up there. We just want this to sit in here. Wish I had to cut that off because now it doesn't want to sit right. I actually think that will work though. Yeah, because I need to come this way. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work real good. Well, obviously this foam's not gonna work. It's gonna bend and not mold, but mold over. So that's gonna work. So we know we can get some foam board and not cut the bottom out, and that will actually be really nice. We'll have it come down just to here on the side, and that'll black out those spots because we left just enough space that we could put a little bit of foam board on there and be a-okay. So coming together. We got our parts in today for the rest of this cabinet build. We've got our 60-in-1 board. I'm using the Believe version. We've got some cabinet buttons. Customer wants the buttons to light up. These are 5-volt arcade buttons. Got our harness in. Depending on which harness you get, you could spend some extra money and get one that has English writing. This one does not. But it comes with a good, I mean, you can't ask for any more pinout diagram than that. So that's going to be just fine. It's a lot of wires we're not going to use, but that's part of it. I'd rather have the wires I don't use than have the ease of this harness. So still got to get some foam board in. We did our test with the foam. We've got our power supply mounted. We've got our monitor tied in. So when this machine gets powered on, the monitor will get power as well. So I think we're going to put the board somewhere over here and then get all our wires run. We have our parts out of the ultrasonic. They're not as white as I would hope. So the customer may be getting some new buttons. I think a couple dollars is worth it. This came out really good. No issues there. This came out real nice and clean. Looks dirty, but it's not. Our bushing, rubber bushing, cleaned up fairly okay. And that's just a part of the manufacturing with some words or letters or something. This is how we're gonna put those buttons in. So you don't want your 3 buttons to be in a straight line. It's not ergonomically comfortable. So there's a slight rise in the center button and it fits pretty well in there. You kind of take a little bit of the top and a little bit of the bottom. Got this depopulated, so to speak, so we can get everything new part. Of course, we're going to clean everything. Getting this thing mounted in the drill press somehow is going to be a challenge. We'll get that figured out though. I'm going to start mocking up where I want this board to be, get some of the wires started up. There's not really much to see there, so I'll bring you back whenever we have some things in place and we can actually talk about some placement of some different items. We've just about tidied everything up. We've got a little bit more work to do to get this looking a lot better. I'm just waiting until I wire in the power for the new light source. So I haven't cleaned this part of the screen yet, as you can see. We've got to get a lock in the coin door. I've printed some items for this. That'll be kind of a wait and see. I'll get everything cleaned up and then we'll see how it's going to look, see if that's something we're going to go with. So right now we're working on a replacement light. The ballast, they said that they've had it replaced before and it only worked for a couple days. We're going to wire in a couple of LED strips. I'm just going to use the actual bracket from that ballast and we're going to have 2 strips come in here. So obviously I'm just going to power one side, it'll run down and I'll wire in this. That way it keeps going. This should be plenty bright for the marquee. Our soldering station set up. I'm going to grab some solder and some wire and we'll get this thing done. Got all the supplies. We're actually just going to use the wires that the tube light used. Nothing better than to reuse. Might be a little tough on this LED strip. We'll get it figured out. I believe I want this to come in here. Let's tin that up. Maybe. Definitely don't want it to hit that metal underneath there. fix that one. Golly, smoky. Let's work on this. See, yeah, you can see that in there. Kinda. A bit further away than you probably want it to be. Let's see, we use the black for negative. I got way too much on this. Work. I think what I want to do is fasten this in some type of way, because it's going to want to pull it, obviously. Doesn't have to be tight, it's pretty open in there, so I'm going to make this good and long. Should have plenty of wire. A little bit more. Positive to positive. Probably should have used a much thinner wire to do the connector here, because these are going to want to pull. I don't want them to. I don't know if tape is just going to be enough. Might not pull too bad. It'll be alright. We'll see. We'll get everything done and installed, and if you don't like it, you redo it. Before we just slap this one on, fix this. Just touching this metal here. Okay. Let's take our 3 screws, we'll get it mounted up, and we'll see how bad these wires are gonna pull. All right, we're at the machine. We've already got an issue. The positive has came off. It a bit too much for it. I think we need to just get these up and then figure out how we want to do it. Be a better option. That negative pulling off too now. And the position is going to work. Just need to secure that better. Yeah. Let's come in here. I think this is a omnidirectional. It doesn't really give arrows to which way the power has to travel. It will sure let us know. Let me grab the soldering iron. What we've come up with, I've got the main bundle zip tied behind this, and then I've got this zip tie just holding it in place to where we want those to sit. That way the stress, if anything stresses, we'll still be able to fix anything that we need to. Now we'll see if it holds. And really, if this gives us problems, I'll just go to like a 22 gauge wire, something like that, something really small. And I didn't tin those before. This is going to be a little more difficult. Very hot on the thumb. A little harder in the machine. I'll get it. I think we have a connection. I'm just going to make sure this is slightly lifted and not touching that metal. I'll cut these down shorter too. But right now, I just want to see if this is going to work, if that is going to hold, and if this is an omnidirectional, whatever it's supposed to be called, universal. Get some ground. All right. Give it some power. It's booting up. I'm going to go to the 12 volt and we'll see if it does anything. Yeah, I got light. Okay, turn it off. I'm going to assume that I started the camera back. Let's plug this in for now. Yeah, we're recording. All right, let's hit that power switch again. It's back here. Now we don't have power. Why is it not working now? Well, oh, it is working. It's actually pretty bright. All right, well, let's put the marquee up and see what it looks like. If that's going to come through enough for our liking, which I'm sure it will. I'm sure in 2 weeks of being in the field, a truck ride over to the customer's house, something's going to fall off. Yep, that's good. That's real good. Well, you can't really tell, can you? There you go. That's the difference. I still haven't cleaned this yet. It's turning out. Now, I don't know if I've said it yet. With this particular screen or display, what I do is I show the customer, here's 4x3, 5x9, 16x9, and let them choose. Currently, it's setting at 16x9, which is not the traditional aspect ratio. But I would say every time that I've used this particular screen, the customer prefers this layout. Well, all that's left to do now is to put a lock in the door, get this marquee cleaned and the other clip installed, clean the cab, and we can get this thing delivered. I'll pick back up whenever I have basically like a little final walk around. When we do our final walk around, we'll peel our protectors. We always peel. Yeah, it's gonna look real good. Actually a pretty clean marquee from damage wise. It does have an interesting, I haven't looked at anything yet. I've not Googled any of this, so I don't know if it's military or auction, what it is. Yeah, so we'll get this tidied up, everything buttoned up. All right, we've got Miss Pac-Man all done up. We're gonna work a little bit more on this old tape residue. Playing real well. Let me show you. It's backside. We replaced the locks. This looks a little cumbersome or untidy. These are bundles where this JAMA harness covers a wide variety of types of machines. We're not using anything from any of these, so I've just got it secured to this metal bracket, holding the board. I'm not going to cut those off because you never know what the future life holds for these boards and machines. Now, I opened the back and the entire machine shut off. So, this customer has some little kids, and even though they would have to do a lot to get to this power supply, I did rewire in the original kill switch. So if this back door gets taken off, the power gets killed. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop the live feed going in here, but I'm going to try and explain that to them the best I can. But this hopefully will help somewhat in case something was to happen. And then automatically just, turn back on, obviously. The LEDs turned out real well for the marquee. You can't really tell it right now. I've got the shop door open. We'll let this boot through. While that boots through, we will take off our film. We always peel. It's not always the easiest. You're gonna have fingernails sometimes. There we go. Nice. When I get this to the customer's house, what we'll do is go through, I'll show them how to put it in basically setup, test, option settings, whatever you want to call it. And then we'll set the volume the way they may work best for them. Let's put us a game on it. I don't know what we should play. Let's see. I don't even know a lot of these. Gunsmoke, I believe, needs 3 buttons. That's probably a little loud. Yeah, that's way loud. Yeah, way too much volume. Got me. Right in the side of the head. Hey, reach that one. So let's go ahead and let's just try a different. Maybe it was just that one. Yeah, this one's much better volume. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be frustrating, I bet. Oh. Boom. There we go. I've never actually installed a volume pot in one of these. Usually don't ever really have many issues out of the sound. Let's see. What's bomb jack sound like? It was fine. how to play this. Can you land on the bird's back, maybe? Nope. Got a little driller dude down there. Yeah, it sounds not great. Yeah, we'll mess with that some. All right, to wrap this series up, we are going to try and do something a little different with these security holes. I printed this up on the 3D printer, and I don't know, I think it'll fit with the vibe. Put them in there a little bit further. Work on that some, but I think that'll be, cool for the kids. We'll see. That's going to do it for Miss Pac-Man 16:1 conversion here on Behind the Coil. Join us next time as we go behind the doors of something else. Really need to get into those shuffle bowlers. I just don't want to. Y'all have a good one.